Hi guys, so we're going to be looking at Kanye West's chart today. What a character he is. So he has a very tough chart actually. He does lead a very crazy lifestyle obviously. So let's try and see all this objectively from his point of view by looking at his chart. So we can start with the Cancer ascendant, meaning that he's very externally sensitive. So this immediately reminds me of when he gets caught on camera smiling and then immediately within a millisecond drops to that poker face, sort of that bored, indifferent kind of look. To me, that's him not wanting to show his vulnerability or any emotion. A Cancer can also just be the emotion that we have. So he has a very strong physical sort of defense for it, even with that, the way he can just wipe it off his face like that. And with the moon, the ruler of the ascendant, the chart ruler trining the ascendant, this makes it even stronger, making him very affected emotionally by his environment. So he needs to have people around him that is in tune with his emotions and that are supportive, and that also support his beliefs as well, with the moon there in the 9th house, because that moon in the 9th is saying that he is very emotionally attached to his beliefs. That's why he comes across so strong with that. The moon represents the most inner part of ourselves that was also the conditioning and the upbringing. So his beliefs are obviously very much shaped around that. And it could even be in Pisces there as well, that his parents maybe were very religious as well, or just influenced his beliefs in that way, in quite a strong way. The moon squaring the sun and Jupiter, so this amplifies his emotional realm and his feelings, and makes them very exaggerated and very passionately expressed. It can also make him indulge a little bit, and he'll need to sort of cultivate some discipline, especially because all of this is in mutable signs. Speaking of discipline, we're going to go straight to Saturn, the lessons of his chart. So this is where we learn our hard lessons in life. It teaches us our limits, and depending on where Saturn is and what sign, that'll tell us about what hard lesson we're meant to learn. So for him, this reality is really coming face to face with his own ego, the sign in Leo there. So it's a sign of our confidence, our self-expression, our conscious behavior. When we look to the depositor of this as well, it comes back to Venus in Taurus in its home sign. So developing his self-worth and his security, his accomplishments, his talent, and all of that will be at the basis of a healthy ego expression for himself, and learning about that. So, you know, he's been classed as a creative genius. So Saturn there is making that a lesson to understand that energy and to express that in a healthy way, because there is a difference between self-love, self-care, and narcissism. And he has his Saturn opposition in about a year's time, so I think we'll start to see a real sobering quality to him then. The fact that Saturn is also in the 2nd house there, also Chiron in Taurus, which is conjunct Venus as well, so it's all about Taurus, the 2nd house. It can mean maybe he didn't feel as loved or nurtured growing up, in the way of being physically provided for, and so developed a strong ego to compensate for that. Even if he didn't grow up particularly poor, it's still an impoverished sort of mindset, or feeling that he didn't really have security or enough praise or attention. And the moon square the sun also indicates a bit of a tough upbringing in this way, feeling a conflict within himself between his conscious and unconscious mind, a conflict between feeling safe and satisfied and going out and being someone in the world. It's a clash between his inner nature and his emotional needs. So this can come from, again, growing up where his parents didn't agree or get along on things that maybe involved him, or that he witnessed. His challenge here with this is to trust his feelings, but not to run away with them or get carried away with them. Pisces moon can also fall victim quite easily when, you know, feeling upset or that they've been wronged or used in some way. He also needs to really check to make sure that his beliefs are in line with the image that he's projecting to the world. Being a Pisces moon as well, obviously these are very creative people, and they really need to channel their emotions into something creative, otherwise they can feel really helpless and victimized and overwhelmed with the harshness of the world, and they really want to help people. And all of this is really intensified with a square to Jupiter. I think this comes out in the way that he's very passionate with exposing the harshness and the oppression the Black community has endured over the years, and still does, and really conveys that in his music, and especially his latest song that's just been released. So it's coming from a place of incredible compassion and wanting justice, which is that Jupiter. Apparently he did find it really tough after his mum died in 2007, but this was just really interesting because his mum died actually just after his Saturn return. So again, I just think this is highlighting the Saturn lessons for him. So he must have had, a real tough time realizing his own security. In the second house there, Saturn is all about a lack of security and finding that within yourself as you grow older. So it's not something that you can find in your wealth, your worldly possessions. You can't find that in your family. You can't find it in anywhere else apart from what you build on your own, off your own back and within yourself. Saturn in the second also highlighting the security, but also the self-worth and self-respect that comes along with that lesson. But back to that Pisces moon, for him, he's obviously very sensitive to loss. Pisces does understand the ending of things. It's the last sign of the zodiac. A lot of people that can become mentally ill can have a lot of placements in the 12th house, or a lot of Pisces as well. But another perspective on this is remembering what this house actually represents, which is spirituality. It's the non-physical world. It's dreams and spirits and things that aren't of this world, that we can't see but are there. We can feel them. So he can, with a sun there, he can more closely associate and identify with this side of life more so than other people. Mental illness is really quite an interesting area actually, because it's so closely linked in with the spirituality and the ethereal world and the non-linear, non-predictable, unseen world. And even why spirituality is still classed as evil or bad or crazy, because we don't understand it. It's not funded, it's not studied. And obviously this is still stemming from the church's restrictions on anything not connected to God. And we fear what we don't understand. So this is a real interesting area I think we should definitely explore and study more. And it's the same with being bipolar. I think he's meant to have bipolar or something like that. It comes from experiencing really extreme array of emotions, which is a lot of male water moons find tough, because it's such a sensitive place for the moon to be in. And men obviously having to connect with that through conditioning has been very hard, because there's a bit of a stereotype of needing to suppress their emotions. And his is extremely sensitive, being trine the ascendant as well. So again, he's really connecting deeply with the outside world, and also a world that isn't seen. That's something very creative, that's very inspirational. So, but if we actually look at what his outside world is, the ascendant, his environment, there's quite a lot of drama. I think that's fair to say. He's in the Kardashian family, so no wonder he's finding this tough. So back to that 12th house, it's that losing grip on reality or the physical world. So another expression is finding, peace and understanding of one's true inner nature, especially with the sun there, through a spiritual journey. And for him, that spiritual journey can equal faith, Christianity. So things like meditation, having time on your own are very good for these placements. I think apparently recently he went to his property in the middle of nowhere to have some time for himself. That's great. That's exactly what you should be doing if you're feeling overwhelmed, especially with the sun in the 12th. Pisces placements, you need time alone in solitude to find yourself, to find who you truly are without the distractions of the outside world. Go inward. All of this is reinforced again with the sun opposite the 12th house ruler, which is Neptune. He's just surrounded by too many people who aren't exactly maybe down to earth or humble or peaceful within themselves. So it's kind of a pressure cooker kind of environment for him, for someone who's so sensitive and impressionable, which is not really what you think when you think of Kanye West, but it's what we don't see, and it's that energy behind just the very confident persona he projects, obviously. Obviously with Jupiter opposite Neptune as well, conjunct the sun, getting very mixed up with all this Neptunian energy, and Pisces, the emotional realm, is why he can maybe get carried away with ideals, big dreams. This is inflated with Jupiter. The challenge for him is to look beyond the superficial material world, all the all the fancy things he's accumulated in his life and find a deeper purpose or deeper meaning to life. That's really what Neptune is pushing him to do through solitude, through finding himself, through removing himself a little bit from the craziness. Again, with Neptune, people can very easily project an ideal onto these people with strong Neptune. It's sometimes hard to define these people as well, and maybe even hard for them to define themselves. I truly identify with something, and maybe it's, again, part of that Saturn lesson with Leo, the ego. He's wanting to project something so strong, to try and define something that is really hard to define with the Sun opposite Neptune. He's not meant to be one thing. He can be many things. It was actually the same with Heath Ledger. He had a Neptune trine the Sun. Again, incredibly creative person, classed as one of the best actors of all time. So Neptune means a lot of potential and inspiration for people, but it might be all too easy for that person to sort of identify with something that might not exactly be who they really are. They're just adapting to that. They really are like a sponge or a chameleon. They soak up so much external energy and their environment. These people have to be very careful what their environment is and who and what they surround themselves with. So his Mercury, the way he thinks and speaks, is ruled by Venus at home in Taurus, conjunct Mars. So making the way he speaks very passionate. We know this. And just a passionate person in general as well. And the thing he's most passionate about is his career, because it's in the 10th house. So having an image of having made it is very important to him, and he's passionate about that. And Venus opposite Uranus is quite interesting, actually, having a pattern in his life of feeling like he needs to escape or have more autonomy within his relationships. And maybe relationships being somewhat of a source of pain or loss, with Ceres involved in Libra. So in a way, he's very introverted personality and needs a lot of alone time to help understand himself, removed from other people. People with Sun-Jupiter conjunction, it's a very intense aspect. It can indicate an inflated sense of self. Jupiter expands and exaggerates everything. So with this aspect, I don't think it's a surprise here. He's probably always been that way. Very confident and full of life, because Jupiter is almighty Zeus on Mount Olympus, the king of the gods. It means he expresses himself in a larger than life type of way and really has that zest for life and likes to be recognized and to be someone. In a way, this aspect is really great, because who wouldn't want to feel really super confident and protected by the god of all gods? Very capable and important. Some people may see it as arrogance, some people may see it as confidence. Sometimes seeing someone so confident reflects back onto us, how confident we feel within ourselves. And it's a bit of a mirror, it can be quite confronting. So sometimes we try and pull those people down. Jupiter conjunct Sun basically equals belief in oneself. So he believes in himself, that he can do it, that he can achieve anything. And he almost has, he wants to run for president. So, what if we all had that type of belief in ourselves? We would really achieve a lot, I think. Another nice aspect from Sun sextiling Saturn there. So this means the dramatic qualities of this aspect will really refine over time, again, with the lessons of Saturn, maturity and responsibility. So he has an incredible amount of optimism and vision and power, but put that into helping people, not for your own self-inflation, but to help other people, to be a positive leader for other people. That's the highest expression of Leo. He does have Taurus Mercury, so he does sort of think slowly and carefully and methodically, so he thinks about what he's going to say, but he has an immediate platform to speak to the public, to connect with the public, and he also has this need to communicate with people and the collective. So with the Taurus Mars, I don't think he would take action on something unless he really believes in something. He can be stubborn about it. He would really think that through. So let's just quickly go to his Sun in Gemini. Obviously he loves to talk, that's Gemini. He doesn't mind having these nice big philosophical conversations, especially about beliefs. Conjunct Jupiter, square the moon. So like the messenger god Hermes, he wants to share and communicate these beliefs and view on the world with people. And we have to be really careful with our beliefs, because sometimes it's based on fact, sometimes it's through conditioning. We all have different views and opinions and beliefs based on our experience. So a healthy dose of acceptance and respect for other people's opinions is kind of necessary with this placement he has. His Gemini Sun obviously makes him really fun and loves to joke around, and conjunct Jupiter again, just wanting to be the life of the party, really good at entertaining. And Geminis really need that mental stimulation, so they can develop sort of nervous tension if they can't express that, and for him, if he can't express his emotions through a creative outlet as well. And if we look to his North Node in Libra there, his destiny, so it's linked to understanding deeply the way that he communicates his message. So his destiny is to understand the way that he communicates, compromises, and shares within relationships. If there's not a good amount of give and take, or if he's too selfish, which is a South Node in Aries, then he's not fulfilling his destiny. He's meant to be a leader of his home environment and teach and display cooperation and fairness to his children, to his family. And South Node in Aries conjunct Mars and Venus means he needs to let go of all of this material desire and accomplishment that you find in Hollywood that's very strongly pushed there. So he needs to find something deeper within himself to find peace. The fourth house comes back to the soul, our deepest needs, our most inner nature, and again, finding that within himself, he might need to go have these journeys of going inward, meditation, vipassana, whatever it is. He needs to find himself through some solitude and some deep soul searching, and also being around family, connecting back to his roots, where he comes from, his parents, will help with that journey as well. Maybe learning to develop a good relationship with them. Libra's all about compromise and understanding. With the Sun trining the North Node as well, it's that innate nature and confidence and knowledge that he's developed will help become this version of him as well. It's time to truly express himself in this lifetime, and he'll find even that life forces him to come to terms with his identity that he's created to really express his full potential. And it really will depend on how much he can bring his ego and his ideas back down to earth and sort of relate harmoniously with people to get this message across. He has to really dig deep to understand where his beliefs come from, who he is at his core, and not just what is projected onto him from people and the media and the public and his family even. So I hope you enjoyed the reading. Leave a like or comment, and I'll see you soon.